You want to know what finally broke us? Ambassador Chen raised her coffee mug, steam curling around her face as she addressed the trembling Arxian diplomat. It wasn't the trade sanctions. It wasn't the political maneuvering. It wasn't even the not-so-subtle attempts to quarantine Earth behind that ridiculous protective barrier of yours. She took a long sip, savoring the bitter liquid while maintaining eye contact with all four of the aliens' eyes. The Arxians' translucent antennae twitched nervously, picking up the sharp spikes of what humans called caffeine emanating from the dark brew. No, what finally did it was when you targeted our dogs. The Arxians' mandibles clicked in confusion. The non-sapient quadrupedal companion species? The very same. Chen's smile didn't reach her eyes. Did your Security Council really think we wouldn't notice the specialized bioweapon? The one designed to target only Canis lupus familiaris? The one your scientists spent 3 years developing in that secret facility on Proxima B? I don't know what you're... Oh, save it. Chen set down her mug with a sharp click. We found the files. All of them. Including the psychological analysis suggesting that targeting Earth's pets would demoralize the Deathworlders without requiring direct confrontation. Very clever. Very thorough. Very, very stupid. The ambient temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees, despite the environmental controls maintaining a steady 22 degrees. The Arxian diplomat, Vkr'lak, found himself wishing he'd chosen a different career path. Perhaps something safer, like antimatter containment engineering or stellar core sampling. Ambassador, surely we can discuss this like rational. Rational? Chen's laugh held all the warmth of an asteroid field. Let me tell you about rational. Rational is how we've spent the last 50 years playing nice with the Galactic Council. Rational is how we've jumped through every hoop, filled out every form in triplicate, and smiled politely while being treated like barely contained barbarians. Rational is how we've constantly proved our civilization level to species that would die if they stubbed their toe too hard. She stood, and despite being a full head shorter than the Arxian, somehow managed to loom. But you know what isn't rational? Humans and dogs. That relationship defies your neat little xenosociological models, doesn't it? 10,000 years of coevolution, of loyalty, of friendship that crosses species boundaries. We uplifted ourselves, and we brought our dogs with us. Not as servants, not as tools, but as family. Vkr'lak's secondary heart began to flutter. The council thought wrong. Chen's voice could have frozen hydrogen. You want to know what happens when someone threatens a human's dog? Let me tell you about John Wick. It's a fascinating piece of human entertainment from the pre-contact era. 3 hours later, after Chen had thoroughly explained not only John Wick but also Old Yeller, where the red fern grows, and several other cultural touchstones, Vkr'lak finally managed to stammer out. But it was never deployed. The weapon was never... The intent was enough. Chen's smile returned, sharper than before. You see, that's another thing about humans. We're really big on intent. And when we found out about your little project, well, let's just say it triggered something primal in us. Something that's been building for a very, very long time. She tapped her comm unit, and suddenly the walls of the meeting room became transparent, revealing the vast space around the diplomatic station. Vkr'lak's antennae went rigid with shock as he saw what waited outside. The entire human fleet had arrived. Not just their peacekeeping vessels or their trade ships, but everything. From the smallest corvette to the massive dreadnoughts that the Council had forbidden them from building, but clearly hadn't stopped them. And on the side of each ship, painted in sizes visible from kilometers away, were profiles of different dog breeds. German Shepherds on the destroyers, St. Bernards on the medical ships, Huskies on the Arctic World deployment vessels. A Great Dane silhouette adorned the flagship, appropriately named Humanity's Best Friend. We've transmitted our demands to the Council. Chen continued conversationally, as if she weren't announcing the greatest military mobilization the galaxy had seen in 10,000 years. They're quite reasonable, all things considered. Full recognition of Earth as a Class 1 civilization. Immediate cessation of all attempts to contain, control, or manage human expansion. And of course, a formal apology to every single dog on Earth. That's impossible. The Council would never... Oh, I think they will. Chen pulled up another hologram, this one showing feeds from across Council space. Human ships appearing above every major world, every trading hub, every strategic choke point. You see, while you were all so worried about containing us, you never stopped to ask why we seemed so content with our small corner of space. Why we didn't push back harder against the restrictions. Like any good dog owner, we were just training ourselves, learning patience, establishing boundaries, gathering intelligence. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Did you know humans have a saying? Let sleeping dogs lie. It's good advice. Advice you really should have taken. HFY's translator struggled with his next words, his mandibles chattering so hard they nearly locked up. What are you going to do? Do? Chen's eyebrows rose in mock surprise. Why, we're going to do exactly what humanity does best. We're going to be stubborn, persistent, and absolutely relentless in pursuing our goals. We're going to take our rightful place in the galaxy, and we're going to do it with our dogs right beside us. And if anyone tries to stop us... She shrugged. Well, you've seen the fleet. But that's not how civilization works. There are protocols, procedures. Oh, we're done with those. Chen stood, straightening her uniform. You see, that's the thing about humans. We can be very, very civilized, right up until we're not. And when it comes to protecting our dogs... Her smile showed teeth. We're definitely not feeling civilized anymore. She gestured to the door. Now, I suggest you go tell the Council that they have exactly 24 Earth hours to meet our demands. And while you're at it, you might want to mention that we've discovered some very interesting things about Archean physiology. Did you know that you share a remarkable number of genetic markers with Earth squirrels? Our dogs find that fascinating. As HFY practically fled the room, Chen sat back down and picked up her coffee mug again. A small drone floated over, refilling it with fresh hot coffee. The drone had been designed to resemble a miniature corgi, complete with stubby legs and a wagging tail antenna. Good boy, she murmured to it, then opened a channel to the fleet. Operation Good Boy is a go. Release the hounds. Across Council space, on every ship in the human fleet, dogs that had been specially trained for zero-G combat and fitted with state-of-the-art spacesuits began preparing for deployment. They weren't needed for violence. Their mere presence would be psychological warfare enough. After all, what better way to demonstrate humanity's capabilities than to show that they hadn't just survived their death world? They'd made friends with it. As the first reports of mass surrenders began coming in, it turned out that most Council species had an instinctive fear response to the sight of armored war dogs floating through space. Chen allowed herself a small, genuine smile. She pulled up an image on her personal comm unit. Her own dog, a rescue mutt named Einstein, waiting for her back on Earth. Don't worry, boy, she whispered. We're making the galaxy safe for walkies. In the end, it took less than 12 hours for the Council to capitulate. As it turned out, the sight of millions of highly trained dogs in spacesuits, combined with humanity's complete control of all major trade routes, was a pretty convincing argument. The formal apology to Earth's dogs was delivered by the Council's supreme leader himself, who looked decidedly uncomfortable as he scratched behind the ears of the German shepherd that had been appointed as Earth's goodwill ambassador to the stars. And if in the years that followed, the sight of humans walking their dogs through space stations and alien markets became common, well, the galaxy learned to adapt. They didn't have much choice. Humanity had finally taken its place among the stars, and they'd brought their best friends with them. Some said it was the most anticlimactic revolution in galactic history. No shots fired, no worlds burned. Just the overwhelming presence of humanity and their loyal companions, standing together against the cosmos. But those who understood humans best knew the truth. There was nothing more terrifying than a species that could turn wolves into friends, and nothing more dangerous than threatening that friendship. As for Ambassador Chen, she eventually retired to a small colony world with Einstein, where they spent their days taking very long walks and watching alien sunsets. She kept the corgi drone, though, if only to remind the galaxy that humans were always watching, always ready, and always accompanied by their dogs. 6 months after what became known as the Goodest Revolution across Council space, life had changed in ways that even humanity hadn't fully anticipated. You're telling me, Chen said, staring at the report on her holoscreen, that the Vkr'lak have started a breeding program? Her successor as ambassador, James Rodriguez, nodded with barely contained amusement. Apparently, after seeing our K9 units in action, they decided they needed their own version. They're trying to selectively breed their native hexapodal grazers to be more dog-like. That's... Chen paused, scratching Einstein behind the ears as she searched for the right words. That's not how any of this works. Try telling them that. Rodriguez's hologram flickered as he suppressed a laugh. The really funny part? They've hired human-animal behaviorists as consultants, paying them in antimatter no less. Einstein looked up at the mention of antimatter, tail wagging. The old mutt had developed an inexplicable ability to recognize words related to space travel, probably from spending so much time on diplomatic vessels. And the Council is just okay with this? The Council, Rodriguez said with evident satisfaction, is currently dealing with what they're calling a cultural crisis. Turns out, when you expose a bunch of rigid, hierarchical societies to the concept of unconditional love and loyalty across species boundaries, it causes some interesting philosophical problems. Chen snorted. Let me guess, they're struggling with the concept that we achieve technological advancement without abandoning our primitive emotional attachments? Got it in one. The Arxians are particularly confused. Their xenopsychologists are still trying to explain how a species can be simultaneously capable of building antimatter drives and getting emotionally devastated by those videos of soldiers reuniting with their dogs. Have you shown them the Rainbow Bridge poem yet? I'm saving that for when we need to negotiate the new trade agreements. Rodriguez's grin was positively wicked. Speaking of which, you'll never guess what's become the hottest commodity in Council space. Chen raised an eyebrow. Please tell me it's not dog toys, specifically tennis balls. The Centaurians have apparently discovered that they're the perfect size for some religious ritual they've got, and now everyone wants them. We're having to build new factories just to keep up with demand. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations are hoarding tennis balls. Life is full of surprises. Rodriguez's hologram glanced down at something off-screen. Oh, and you'll love this. Remember that Arxian bioweapons facility? The one that started all this? Hard to forget. They've converted it into the galaxy's first interspecies veterinary hospital. Turns out, a lot of their containment protocols and genetic research tools translate pretty well to animal healthcare. They're actually doing some groundbreaking work on extending canine lifespans. Chen looked down at Einstein, his muzzle now more white than brown, and felt something catch in her throat. Now that might actually be worth forgiving them for. That's not even the best part, Rodriguez continued. The Galactic Council's supreme leader, the one who had to give the formal apology, his species is apparently highly susceptible to oxytocin. During the ceremony, when that German shepherd licked his face, well, let's just say he's now the proud adoptive parent of 3 Earth rescue dogs and has become our biggest advocate in Council politics. You're kidding. Nope. He even installed a dog park in the Council's main chamber. Says it helps with diplomatic tensions. Hard to maintain an argument when there's a golden retriever bringing you a ball every 5 minutes. Chen laughed. A full, genuine laugh that made Einstein's tail thump against the floor. So what you're telling me is that humanity's final victory over galactic politics came down to puppy power? Pretty much. Rodriguez shrugged. Though I have to say, watching a hive mind queen try to play fetch is something I never thought I'd see in my diplomatic career. Please tell me someone recorded that. It's become the most watched video in Council space. The xenolinguists are still arguing over whether the Queen's declaration of, "Who's a good drone? Yes, you are," counts as a formal addition to their collective consciousness. Chen shook her head, still chuckling. And to think they were so worried about us being Deathworlders. Oh, we're still Deathworlders, Rodriguez corrected. We're just Deathworlders who made friends with wolves and then spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of belly rubs. Turns out that's way more terrifying to them than any amount of physical prowess. Because it means we could potentially do it again? Make allies of other dangerous species? Exactly. The prevailing theory in Council xenopsychology circles is that we're some kind of apex domesticators. A species so stubborn and emotionally invested that we can forge genuine bonds with practically anything. There's actually a betting pool on what we'll befriend next. Do I want to know the odds? Current frontrunner is the crystal entities in the Carina Nebula. Apparently someone showed them a video of a cat knocking things off a table, and now they're fascinated by the concept of playful chaos. Einstein whined softly, reminding Chen that it was approaching dinner time. Some things, even in this new galactic order, remained perfectly constant. Well, she said, rising from her chair, I suppose we should be grateful. All those years of sci-fi writers imagining first contact scenarios, and none of them guessed it would end with the galaxy's most powerful civilizations learning to play fetch. Life's funny that way, Rodriguez agreed. Oh, and one more thing. The Council's officially designated Earth as the galaxy's first companion species sanctuary. Any species that shows the capacity for forming emotional bonds with others gets automatically protected status. They're that worried about us making more friends? Let's just say they've seen what we're willing to do for dogs, and they're not taking any chances with what might happen if we get equally attached to something with, say, natural telepathy, or the ability to manipulate time. Chen glanced at her comm unit's background image, a photo from the signing of the new Galactic Charter, showing the Council's supreme leader being mobbed by excited puppies while trying to maintain his dignity.
Fair enough. Though I have to say, as diplomatic revolutions go, it's been the most wholesome one in galactic history, Rodriguez suggested.
I was going to say the most ironically human one. We spent 50 years trying to prove we were civilized, only to take over the galaxy by basically being ourselves, emotional, irrational, and completely devoted to our four-legged friends. Speaking of which, the Council's annual general meeting is next month. Wanna come? The Supreme Leader's hosting a puppy graduation ceremony for the first class of space-certified therapy dogs. Chen looked down at Einstein, who had perfected the art of the hopeful stare over their years together. What do you think, boy? Ready to show the galaxy how Earth does walkies? Einstein's tail wagged so hard his whole body wiggled. I'll take that as a yes. Chen turned back to Rodriguez's hologram. Tell them to stock up on tennis balls. We're going to teach the galaxy some new tricks. We may have created a monster, Chen announced as she watched the footage playing on the station's main viewport. Einstein, now sporting a custom-made spacesuit complete with illuminated tail-wagging indicator, tilted his head at her tone. The video showed the first graduating class of the Galactic Interspecies Bonding Academy, GEBA, or as it had become colloquially known, Space Dog University. Teams of various alien species were demonstrating their newly acquired skills in companion species interaction, complete with treats, toys, and what appeared to be a zero-G obstacle course. I wouldn't call it a monster, Rodriguez replied, watching a hive mind drone attempting to master the art of throwing a frisbee with its tentacles. More like an enthusiastic cultural revolution. The Merxian Empire has requested permission to establish a corgi breeding program. The warrior cat people want corgis? Rodriguez blinked. That's actually kind of perfect. They say the corgi's combination of fierce heart and small package resonates with their cultural values. Chen pulled up another report, and the Quantum Collective has submitted a formal proposal to uplift dolphins, citing our success with dogs as a precedent. Please tell me you didn't approve that one. Of course not. Can you imagine dolphins with access to quantum computing? We'd never hear the end of their puns. She sighed, scratching Einstein behind the ears. But that's not even the biggest concern. Have you seen the latest development from the Arxians? Rodriguez's hologram leaned forward. No, but given their track record, this should be good. They've developed a universal translator for dogs. There was a long pause. You're joking. Wish I was. Apparently they've been studying canine cognitive patterns ever since the Goodest Revolution. They claim they can now translate basic dog thoughts and emotions into any galactic standard language. That's... Rodriguez struggled for words. Terrifying? Fascinating? A potential diplomatic nightmare? I was going to say inevitable, actually. He shrugged. I mean, we showed them that dogs are intelligent enough for space combat. Did we really think they wouldn't try to talk to them? But have you considered the implications? Chen started pacing, a habit she'd picked up during her diplomatic career. If dogs can directly communicate with alien species, then humanity might not be needed as intermediaries anymore. Rodriguez finished. You're worried they might try to establish independent relations with our best friends. Einstein woofed softly, his tail-wagging indicator blinking in what the suit's manual claimed was a pattern indicating mild amusement. It's not just that, Chen continued. Think about it. Dogs are loyal, yes, but they're also incredibly friendly. What happens when they can tell the galaxy exactly what they think? What if they start making suggestions about interstellar policy? You think dogs would be bad diplomats? I think dogs would be too good at diplomacy. They'd probably solve half the galaxy's conflicts by suggesting everyone just play together and share their toys. As if to prove her point, the viewport now showed footage of a Centaurian high priest solemnly engaging in a game of tug-of-war with a Saint Bernard. The priest's normally rigid tentacle crown was wiggling in what xenologists had recently classified as joy. You know, Rodriguez mused, that might not be the worst thing. When was the last time we had an interstellar incident that couldn't have been solved by a good game of fetch? That's not... Chen started, then paused as a new alert flashed across her screen. Oh no. What now? The Quantum Collective just released their first attempt at translating cosmic background radiation using dog bark patterns. Rodriguez's hologram actually flickered. They what? They say they've discovered that the universe's background noise contains patterns similar to different dog breeds' vocalizations. They're calling it the cosmic good boy theory. That's ridiculous. That's completely... Their paper has already been peer-reviewed by 3 different species science academies. The hive mind queen is calling it revolutionary. Einstein's suit sensors indicated he was now extremely interested in the conversation. So what you're telling me, Rodriguez said slowly, is that not only have dogs become the galaxy's diplomatic corps, they might also be the key to understanding the fundamental nature of the universe? The Quantum Collective's exact words were, "The universe is one big good boy, and we're just now learning to pet it correctly." There was a moment of silence, broken only by Einstein's tail thumping against the station's deck. "Well," Rodriguez finally said, "I guess this answers the old question about whether God made dogs in our image, or if it was the other way around." This isn't funny, James. Do you realize what this means? The entire galaxy is going dog crazy. The Vkr'lak have already submitted plans for a Dyson sphere shaped like a tennis ball. The hive mind is considering restructuring their entire collective consciousness to be more pack-oriented. And don't even get me started on the Merzians' proposal for a galactic-scale dog park. A galactic scale? They want to designate an entire spiral arm as an off-leash area. Rodriguez couldn't help but laugh. You have to admit, it's pretty much the perfect revenge. They were also worried about us being violent Deathworlders, and instead we've infected the galaxy with... unconditional love and enthusiasm? Exactly. Can you imagine trying to explain this to the first humans who dreamed of space travel? Don't worry about the aliens. They'll be too busy trying to teach their tentacles to throw squeaky toys properly. Chen looked down at Einstein, who had mastered the art of looking wise and goofy simultaneously. You knew this would happen, didn't you? This was your species' plan all along. Einstein's tail-wagging indicator blinked in a pattern that the suit's manual didn't even have a classification for. The real question, Rodriguez said, is what happens next. If dogs really can talk to aliens, and if the universe itself might be speaking in bark, where does that leave humanity? Right where we've always been, Chen replied, reaching down to adjust Einstein's suit antenna. Taking our best friends for walks, cleaning up their messes, and wondering how we got lucky enough to share our journey through space with them. Even if that journey now includes quantum physics lectures delivered in woofs? Especially then. Chen smiled as a new alert popped up on her screen. Oh, speaking of which, the Arxians just announced they're establishing a research division dedicated to studying the philosophical implications of belly rubs. Now that's what I call higher education. Einstein barked, and somewhere in the vast expanse of space, the cosmic background radiation barked back. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council's Scientific Advisory Board was not going as expected. For one thing, it was being held in what used to be the main chamber but had since been converted into an enormous indoor dog park. For another, the Supreme Leader was currently trying to maintain his dignity while a pack of puppies used his ceremonial robes as a tug-of-war toy. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Chen said, watching as Einstein sniffed curiously at a quantum probability detector that had been modified to look like a fire hydrant. You're saying that the cosmic good boy theory isn't just a metaphor. The head of the Quantum Collective's research division, a being made of pure energy who had recently adopted the name Spot, flickered in what might have been embarrassment. Our calculations are quite clear. The fundamental forces that hold the universe together exhibit patterns remarkably similar to pack bonding behaviors. In fact, we believe that what we've been calling dark matter might actually be... If you say cosmic belly rubs, I'm retiring, Rodriguez muttered. A manifestation of universal companionship principles, Spot finished, their energy form briefly taking on a distinctly tail-like appendage. The Arxian chief scientist, who had recently legally changed his name to Dr. Goodboy, pulled up a holographic display. Observe the similarity between the way quantum particles interact and the social dynamics of a dog park. The display showed a complex mathematical model on one side and footage from Earth's most popular dog park on the other. The patterns were, disturbingly, almost identical. This can't be right, Chen stammered. You're saying the entire universe operates on dog logic? Not exactly. Dr. Goodboy clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. More that dogs naturally understand something about the nature of reality that we've been missing. Their apparent simple joy in existence might actually be a sophisticated appreciation of quantum interconnectedness. Einstein's tail-wagging indicator was going crazy, its patterns matching perfectly with a nearby display of cosmic radiation frequencies. The implications are staggering, Spot continued, their energy form vibrating with excitement. We've already had to revise our understanding of string theory, or as we're now calling it, leash theory. It turns out that everything in the universe is connected by something remarkably similar to what humans call walkies. And don't even get me started on the temporal physics, Dr. Goodboy added. Have you ever wondered why dogs get so excited when their humans come home, even if they've only been gone for 5 minutes? We're beginning to think they might be experiencing time non-linearly. Rodriguez pinched the bridge of his nose. Are you seriously suggesting that dogs understand quantum mechanics better than we do? Understanding might not be the right word, Spot flickered. They don't understand it so much as they embody it. Every time a dog wags its tail, it's participating in a fundamental cosmic dance. Every time they play fetch, they're demonstrating principles of spatial relativity. The tennis ball theorem, Dr. Goodboy nodded sagely. The what now? Chen felt a headache coming on. The observation that a dog's enthusiasm for retrieving a ball remains constant regardless of the distance it needs to travel, thereby violating conventional laws of energy conservation. We're calling it puppy perpetual motion. Meanwhile, in another corner of the chamber, the hive mind queen was having what appeared to be a deeply philosophical discussion with a basset hound about the nature of consciousness. The dog's universal translator was outputting phrases like, existence is walkies, and reality is treats. But here's the real breakthrough, Spot continued, their energy form shifting into something that looked suspiciously like a Labrador. We've discovered that the act of observing a dog actually changes the quantum state of nearby particles. We're calling it the who's a good boy uncertainty principle. Of course you are, Chen sighed. It's quite revolutionary, Dr. Goodboy insisted. The more we study it, the more we realize that dogs might have been the key to understanding the universe all along. Their apparent simple behaviors, the joy of fetch, the enthusiasm for treats, the unconditional love, might actually be sophisticated interactions with the quantum fabric of reality. Einstein chose that moment to roll over, requesting belly rubs. 3 different quantum sensors in the room immediately went haywire. See? Spot flickered excitedly. The belly rub request creates a localized field of quantum happiness that affects everything around it. We're thinking of harnessing it as an alternative energy source. You want to power starships with belly rubs? Rodriguez asked incredulously. The preliminary tests are very promising, Dr. Goodboy confirmed. Though we're having some trouble with the side effects. Ships tend to start chasing comets they mistake for cosmic squirrels. The Supreme Leader, having finally extracted his robes from the puppy pile, joined the conversation. The philosophical implications are even more profound than the scientific ones. If the universe operates on principles of unconditional love and enthusiasm, then everything we thought we knew about cosmic evolution needs to be reconsidered. Spot finished. Maybe the universe isn't expanding. Maybe it's just excited to see us. Chen looked down at Einstein, who had somehow managed to acquire a quantum-entangled tennis ball. Did you know about this all along? Is that why you always look so happy? Because you understand the cosmic truth of existence? Einstein's response, when run through the universal translator, came out as, life is walk, walk is joy, joy is treats, treats are life. Also, that quantum probability detector needs to be walked 3 times a day. We're also beginning to suspect, Dr. Goodboy added, that what humans call puppy dog eyes might actually be a sophisticated form of gravitational lensing. And don't even get me started on the implications of who's a good boy as a fundamental force. Spot vibrated. We're pretty sure it's what holds galaxies together. The Supreme Leader nodded solemnly. We're considering renaming the galactic core the Great Belly Rub Singularity. Chen looked at Rodriguez. Rodriguez looked at Chen. Einstein looked at his tennis ball, which existed in a quantum superposition of being thrown and not thrown until directly observed. You know what the really funny part is? Rodriguez finally said. After all our worrying about humanity's place in the galaxy, it turns out we were important not because of our technology or our adaptability, But because we were the first species smart enough to make friends with the beings who understood the universe all along, Chen finished. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked, and the fabric of space-time wagged its tail in response. The end. Author's note. This story is dedicated to all the good boys and girls across time and space, and to the humans who love them.
Remember, in space, everyone can hear your dog bark, and now they might even understand what they're saying.
And apparently so does the universe.
Soul.